So at the end of each Toastmasters year, that we have a tradition in this club of doing awards, and I've seen a lot of creative ways of doing it the last several years that I've been a part of this club, and I'm not. I was struggling to figure out how I wanted to do it. I really liked. I'm pretty sure it was Misty several years ago, but it might have been Braden who had some really fun awards that were kind of based on the roles that people took. The one that still is burned into my brain is General Joseph because he was general evaluator in the double digits, that year. So that was kind of a fun idea. I loved the awards that Shayla came up with last year. They were so creative and she really saw each individual person. But I was trying to do it from up here and I just wasn't feeling it. And then I finally realized that the thing that I feel would be most impactful, the gift that I can give you all at the end of the year, is not going to come from up here, even though that's where I am much more comfortable. It was going to come from here. So today, everybody gets one. Everybody gets one word. So as I sat down and just reflected on my experience with each of you, I allowed a word to come to me that just I felt represented the light that I see in each of you. And this kind of came inspired. We have a tradition at our martial arts school. Our teacher, when we earn fifth degree, gets kanji embroidered on our belt with three words for the light that he sees in us. So that was kind of the inspiration. I found it very impactful, the words that he chose for me. So as I share each of the words, please know that this is me seeing the light in you. So these are complementary words. These are things that represent the reason that I'm happy to see your face on Thursday mornings when you show up. And the quote that kept coming to mind, has anyone seen the movie Dodgeball? Yeah. So there's a moment where Ben Stiller's character gets punched in the face, and he's like, "Nobody makes me bleed my own blood." And through this whole thing, that's the line that was rolling in my head was, "Nobody makes me feel my own feelings." So I feel shakier doing this speech than I have in a while. All right. But so here are my words for each of you, and not mostly random order. So first up is Abraham with mirth. There is always such a light and a joy with the way that you share in these meetings. You're a comedian, even when we're rolling our eyes. You're bringing joy to every single meeting, and there are a lot of times where that lightness just makes the meeting feel so much more joyful to go through. So Abraham, your word is mirth. And then next, Deba, every time that I hear Deva speak, I feel like I'm sitting in like a cozy chair next to a fire with a cup of coffee and a good book. There is just a warmth and a gentleness to his demeanor, to the stories that he shares, to the way that he views the world and how he's shared that with us. So the word that I felt for Deba was warmth. And Ganette is grace. She's got this majesticness in the way that she speaks, in the topics that she talks about, the things that she shares with us. She feels graceful as she moves through the meetings. So Ganette is grace. And then Sandra. Sandra, for you, the word that came to mind was care. The way you talk about your family, the speeches you've shared that you've given to women's groups. There's just so much care and love, kind of that grandmothery sort of quality, that motherly quality that we can all feel, and it comes through in the way you express yourself, the way that you reach out to us, the way that you're always here to support and help. So care was the word that I felt for you. And then Joelle Thorgrimson, I struggled a little bit. This is the only one that I used AI for because I just didn't feel like I was hitting it. So Joelle, it was enigmatic was the word that came to mind. she has a reserved quality that feels quiet, but then behind it, I mean, she's an aviator, she's a doctor, she just had a baby, and then she went and got on stage, and it's just she is such a she does such big things behind such a calm personality, and it just she is constantly surprising me with how awesome she is and all the amazing things that she's done. Next is Latachi. Latachi, it just the word was beauty. The messages that she shares, the tone of her voice when she speaks, her accent, and she also is beautiful. Just there is a beauty behind Latachi that I enjoy every time that she shows up to a meeting. And Pamela, oh, my letters got cut off. But for Pamela, the word uh, was light. Especially through her invocations, I can feel this sort of spiritual light, and I know that some of her work touches on sort of that realm. But my teacher would talk about candles lighting candles, and how when you pass the flame from one candle to another, nothing is lost. And I feel that especially when Pamela gave her invocations. I could feel that light being passed from her to all of us, and it filling everyone up. She was spilling over to give that to us. And then for Tija, it is elegance. She is wonderful, just from her perfect hair every single morning, so, and her smile and the topics of her speeches, and I think there is an element, as a native English speaker, I think her accent even adds to that effect. But there is a beautiful elegance behind Tija and the way that she presents herself. So now getting into some of our more recent officers, kind of putting that crop together. For Joelle CW, it was heart. She wears her heart on her sleeve. She is passionate and caring. She wants to see the right things done in a way where it's taking care of everybody in the room. There is so much heart and spirit behind the work that she does, the advocacy, the work she's done with grief, and just bringing to light challenging topics so that nobody's heart gets left behind. So heart is the word for Joelle. And then Karis started with steadfast, but that didn't feel fiery enough. So I decided to go with fierce. Karis is fierce. The way that she's going after her her new career, her ambitions, the just the fire and energy that she brings to her speeches, her commitment. There is that fierceness behind what she is choosing to do, and she's just amazingly, I think of tiger energy in the style of martial arts that I do, but she is fierce and tenacious, and I always feel invigorated after after hearing her speak or having interactions with her, because there's a strength there that I really respect. I like strength. And then for Pam, I don't know if I love this one, but the word that is secretly hidden in the background, I converted from Canva to PowerPoint, and it's coming up a little funky. But the word was true, which is masked in there. And there's just this. I don't know. There's a trust that I have that Pam is in control of this situation. I mean, we went to a John Acuff event together, and she was willing to give me rides. She shows up, and she's just true. She's there. She's honest. She's supportive. So there is a trustworthy truth behind the interactions that I feel with Pam. And then Melanie, the word that I chose was grounding. But the martial arts term that I feel or principle that I feel from Melanie is rooting. which is how we connect to the ground to be able to generate power and to be strong. Ha! Red. So there is a groundedness to the way that Melanie moves through the world. She is it's just very she's straightforward, but in a respectful way, and I feel rooted and grounded with the energy that Melanie brings to our meetings. And for Sam, how could it be anything other than color? In the way that she talks about her family, in the liveliness and the playfulness that she brings to her speeches, and then, of course, the color of her hair. But then, even like turning her small town library into like a Harry Potter world, there is just a colorfulness that is wonderful that Sam brings to every single meeting that she can join us. Shayla, another one I felt really hard finding a word. So the word that I chose was just hugs. Because every time you talk, it just feels like getting, I don't know, wrapped up and taken care of. It's, I know that you would be a shoulder to cry on or great celebratory hug, whatever happens, whatever the situation, there's just such warmth. I feel embraced when you speak, when you join our meetings. It's wonderful. And then for Tammy, the word that I felt was commitment. A commitment to excellence in herself, a commitment to this club and to each of the individual members within it, a commitment to persistence in her goals, whether it's a contest or pathways or getting on stages and being a speaker. There is a commitment to get up again and again and keep moving forwards that I really admire. Okay, and now for our elder statesman in the room. For Joseph, the word was faith. So there is the obvious implication of his faith that he has shared with us. So when Joseph's in the room, I feel a little bit of my faith in humanity restored. There's such a gentleness that is a wonderful energy that we have when Joseph speaks. We know we should listen. So my word for Joseph is faith. And Freddie, I feel like I've had to argue with her on this one at times. It's mastery. Freddie is masterful in the way that, especially the way that she interacts. There are subtle things that she does to move this club culture forward and help everybody understand what it means to be dynamic. And she also masterfully highlights each individual and makes them feel seen and heard in the club. It is something that I pay attention to. And for all of us as leaders and as speakers, there are little things that she's doing that she probably doesn't even know she's doing it because she's so masterful at it. All right. And then Ken, the word is love. So I've seen snippets of your poetry. I've heard your prayers, and I've heard you talk about your wife. I didn't know her. This is feelings. Okay. So I've heard you talk about Barb, and I watched my mom let go of my dad, and I watched my dad have to say goodbye to my mom, and I feel that love. Dang it, I wanted to get through this. I feel that love from you every time that you speak, and especially when you share about Barb. So thank you as a member of our club. All right. And then finally, I wanted to save our incoming president for last as I pass the gavel to him. So for James, the word was guardian. I have known a lot of very strong male leaders that I greatly respect, many of whom were in the military. I have also known some male leaders that were in a leadership position. They knew how to say the right things to sound like leaders, but behind it, there was a lot of ego. I don't feel that from James, and I'm very excited for this next year. I think he's going to be a strong guardian for our dynamic way of being in this club. And there's a compassionate warriorship that I feel from James, still getting to know him, but I am very excited and proud to be able to pass the gavel to him for our next year. Uh, and so that is it for my words. So thank you all for another awesomely dynamic year. Now there are two more awards that are very top of mind that I just cannot decide. So really quick to close this out. District 42 does of the year awards. We always nominate a rookie of the year, someone who started in the last 18 months, as well as a Toastmaster of the year. And I am overthinking this to the extreme. There are so many people that I could add to these lists. So it is due June 30th. But I would love any feedback that you guys have. If you can shoot me an email, if you have even, you can send me just a name, you can send me a novel about why you think that person should be nominated. But I'm feeling a little stuck. So please give me any feedback you have. And I'm way over my time. So oh, we got President's Distinguished too. Yay! So great job, everyone. And here's to another amazing year.